Good morning everyone. Today in this video we will fight against the atmosphere of our world around us, and this time we will discuss a few factors that in recent months also caused a lot of discussion, a lot of rumors, a lot of nerves, and a lot of controversy. I mean demography, because in the first quarter of this year, uh, actually a little bit later, when the data for the first quarter of this year were published, many people were saying that there is drastic drop in births for many countries. For many countries, yes, it happened that there was a drop, like Germany, like South Korea, like Japan, or some other European countries. There was a drop for this period, for first 3 months of this calendar year. The reason of the drop is complex, I guess, and with birds it's hard to indicate the only one solid reason. Among these reasons of this drop that didn't occur everywhere, for instance in France there is a nice few percent increase in birds that is even present for the first 7 months of this year. In Netherlands, for the first 3 months, for instance, this drop was about 7-8%, but now when the data for July, including July, were published, this drop with respect to the data of previous year, of course, always with respect to 2021, decreased. So there is a little bit increasing tendency in birds. So it's hard to say how it will look like. The drop continues, of course, in Germany, but they always have to be the best in stupidity. The reasons for the drop of birds are as follows, that has to be taken into account. The decrease of the living conditions, decrease of the certainty about the future due to the economic perturbances and now inflation and reasons of the politics that were introduced to battle the most famous microbe from China, so lockdowns and so on that destroyed many working place and introduced stressful conditions for many people. So many people postponed having child for later. Another reason for decreasing births can be, and most likely in some cases is, as some reports say, the medicaments that were served to people and many people were forced to take them, that were claimed to be allegedly the protection against the most common microbe from China. We know that they were allowed to be used under many restrictions, under many circumstances, and it was conditional approval for using them, because not all consequences, long-term consequences especially of using them, are known. So this is most likely another reason for a little bit declining birds in some region of the world. But birds are difficult to analyze. What's the reason that affect their number really? These are multiple reasons, as economic factor, sociological, I would say, conditions like feeling of certainty or uncertainty of tomorrow. So inflation, bad economic conditions, such stressful conditions like lockdowns also affect the decision of having babies. And also these so-called medicaments that were used to, in quotation, protect people against this, the most common virus that nowadays almost no one is caring anymore. No one cares about it anymore. It's also interesting. So there are many factors, and none of them can be excluded. And to know more what really affect the birth rate to larger extent, these tendencies, we need to, I think, still wait for the data for for this year and for the first quarters of next year, 2023. Then our conclusions about the birds and this what influence them will be a little bit more solid than they can be now. But for the last 3 months, June, July and August of this year, the death rates data were published, and in many countries around the world, not only European one, there is a drastic for this 3 months increase of the death rates, and they can be clearly correlated with some, I would say, therapies and medicaments that were recently in fashion, let's say. In my opinion, this can be nicely correlated. Of course, some people can say, and this is to lesser extent true, that these stressful conditions, lack of certainty, warm temperature, and so on. So, mm, this is my opinion, how I see it. We will see how the trend will continue with births and deaths. But from my experience, and this is what I observe, birds are more difficult to analyze, and it's more difficult to indicate the real reason responsible for their fluctuations than in case of deaths. That maybe it sounds drastic, but that is simple. That is that, and when it increases, it increases relatively quickly after the factor that causes it appears, and it's much more simple than in case of birds. That's why when someone is thinking, uh, assign assigns facts to each other, remembers what was happening, remembers what people were saying, and also thinks with biochemistry, physics, and biology and chemistry, knows why and what is to larger extent responsible for the recent, in many countries, increase of the death rates for the last 3 months I mentioned, June, July, and especially August. How it will continue, I don't know, but this is my first initial analysis of this problem. With time, I think another one will appear. All the best, have a nice day, bye.